Hello and welcome to another Lunch with Lisa. I'm Lisa Shield, and it is another beautiful day here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where my husband and I moved during the pandemic. We up and decided to take a vacation. We wanted to get away from Los Angeles, just enjoy ourselves. We didn't have the ability to travel. And so we decided to rent a little Airbnb here, and we never went back to LA. It's been absolutely magical. It's fall again, and the leaves are almost gone. They're off the trees, and we are loving the four seasons. It's just been magical. So today I have a wonderful topic for everybody, and I know it's one that's on many women's minds, and we are going to talk about, are men threatened by successful women? Are men threatened by successful women? I'd love to hear from some of you as you're listening to what I share. And I want to hear your comments. I want to know if you've had issues with this, if you've been dating a man and found that he was threatened by you, by your success, or that you felt that you had to dumb yourself down in order to get a man to feel attracted to you. I'm curious, have you ever had a man break it off with you because you were more successful than him, or not ask you out on a date? Or maybe you were on a date and you looked across at this, at the guy. And when you started talking about your career, you could just see him deflate. I'm kind of curious. I know for younger women, it's more common. Men are much more accustomed to younger women being very successful. In my day and age, it was more unusual for women to have big, successful careers and to be able to be big breadwinners. It was just really, women's lib was just taking off. And so when I started dating, even 20 years ago, I remember thinking to myself that it was actually quite a wonderful thing that I didn't need a man to take care of me. And I felt really confident about that. But I didn't feel like it was a deficit. I didn't feel when I was dating 20 years ago and I met my husband that this was something that would turn a man off. I actually just thought, wow, I'm so lucky to be so successful. And I wouldn't come in being needy like other women. And I actually never felt that it was something that got in the way for me personally. Judith says, absolutely, most of my life I dated successful and powerful men. And yes, they would talk over me, and it was a constant power struggle. Very interesting, Judith. Very interesting. I'm excited to hear from some more women and hear what they have to say. I find it fascinating, at least for me, when, some of these things may be true. And then some of these things may be just that we take on these beliefs because we have friends or we have other women in our lives who talk about these things being issues or problems. And then we take it on as our issue or our problem, and we start to define, maybe this is why I'm not successful with men. Maybe I'm intimidating men with my success. And then that starts to become a part of our identity. And then we live into that, because it's funny when I think of a lot of the cliches that I hear about dating and relationships and all, and I think about some of what I felt that I was up against when I was dating. I didn't find this to be an issue for me personally. And I never really even thought that that was part of my issue, that I might be turning men off because I was too successful. So I find that kind of fascinating. Another thing that is so prevalent today is that we all talk about how many men are emotionally unavailable. And it's funny looking back there probably was a lot of emotional unavailability when I was dating, but I never identified it as such. I never saw that as like being an issue or a block or one of the things that was blocking me. So I'm kind of curious. I think as we're looking for answers and we keep dissecting what's working and what's not working, we start to put labels on things and then we adopt those beliefs as our own. And then it starts to color our perception of things. So it's really interesting. I'm kind of interested to see. Um, Judith says, the interesting thing is I find these powerful men are more interesting than a man with a simple job. Yeah, I'm sure they are, Judith. And of course, you would want a man who's on your level and who you feel is a viable partner, so not somebody. I know I dated men that were not as accomplished as me. My first husband had terrible problems with money, and we were both photographers. We were both fashion photographers living in Milan, and we both were struggling, but he constantly had issues with money. He was very, very talented. I admired and respected his talent, but he couldn't, put two nickels to rub together. So that was always an issue for us. It wasn't that he was brilliant. He was absolutely visionary and brilliant and even driven, but he never was financially successful. That was a big issue. Emma says, I think insecure men get threatened by more successful women, but successful men aren't threatened. Rather, they prefer women who are successful and confident. This is from my observations. Well, I'm going to actually give you some data that may dispel that, Emma. So, today more women than men are graduating from college. That's the first thing that we need to take into account when we talk about this. More women than men are graduating from college. Now, a college degree doesn't ensure that you're going to be a millionaire, that you're going to make a great living, but more women are getting college educated. Nearly half of the US workforce is female, and 40% of those women are their family's breadwinner. So nearly half the US workforce is female, and 40% of those women are the family's breadwinner. So think about that. That's pretty amazing. In 2017, Match.com did a Singles in America survey where men marked entrepreneur as the sexiest career a woman could have. So men thought it was super sexy that a woman could have a career as an entrepreneur, right? That same survey found that 87% of men say they'd be with a woman who made more than they did, and nearly 90% wouldn't mind if she were more educated. So think about those statistics, right? This is what men were saying. These were the boxes they were checking on this Match.com survey. So entrepreneur was the sexiest career a woman could have. And that same survey found that 80% of men say they would be fine. They'd be happy to be with a woman who made more than they did. And 90% said it would be fine if she was more highly educated. But then listen to this. Scientific research also has shown that as a man's academic motivation rises, so does his desire for a smart partner. So men who are very academic, they also want intelligent partners, or at least they think they do. When it comes to who men ask out, the research changes. So a series of experiments at the University of Buffalo discovered that while men are turned on by the idea of intelligent women, if a woman outperforms a guy on a test, he'll express less romantic interest. So they say that they are turned on by these women, but really, when it comes to who they ask out, they are less likely to ask these women out. And one guy said, what I want in my head and what I go for are usually not aligned. And what happens, like anything else in dating, what we think and what we actually go for aren't the same. And we women do this as well, by the way. We date down. We say we want smart, successful, great guys. And then we date a lot of losers. We go for the wrong guys too. We date down. We don't date up. And this is exactly what men do as well. They're afraid of rejection, and they actually find that they get intimidated by women who are smart and pretty and successful. And so they get very nervous and they don't want to get rejected. And so it's easier for them to actually ask out women who they feel more comfortable with or superior to. So a lot of this behavior is deeply ingrained. So traditional gender roles have taught men to be competitive and to be the breadwinners. And men are going to very naturally feel competitive with a woman who is more successful than they are. And it is going to make them feel less than. And so they're going to be intimidated by these women. Also, what happens is a successful woman can seem like a threat to their career goals. And because she isn't dependent on him for money, she's more likely to leave the relationship if she's unhappy. So he can't just rely on the fact that a woman is dependent on him for money to keep her around, which is what a lot of guys do. And back in our mother's day, that's exactly what happened. Our mothers were reliant on our fathers if they were stay-at-home moms. They were reliant on their husbands. And many of them, like my mother, got jilted. My dad left her when I was 6 years old, and my brother was 8 for another woman. And so my mother, like a lot of mothers back then, said, don't ever let a man do to you what your dad did to me. So my mother told me, be independent, be successful, and make your own money so that you never find yourself in a situation like I did. So here's the truth about all of this. There are men out there, these behaviors are deeply ingrained, and men need to feel like they have something to offer us. Most of the time in relationships, women have babies and we reproduce. That is for many women, their goal, or one of the gifts that they can give a man is his child. And so automatically men come to us because they want to have children, right? They want offspring. They want sex. And so this is our gift to men. This is a built-in sense of purpose. But in return, a man also needs his own sense of purpose as well. And men often, historically, have felt and culturally have been led to believe that part of their role, part of their gift to us, is to be the protectors and providers, to take care of us. And so when that's gone, when women can do it all on their own and we want a man, but we don't need a man, and there's no feeling of, well, why am I here? And what does she want me for? What does she need me for? A lot of men feel purposeless. They don't feel that they have a sense of purpose or a role in the relationship. And so a lot of that has gotten lost. And this is something, as women, it is disheartening for us because we want men and we want partnerships. We want men who will devote themselves to us. And when push comes to shove, we don't want to seem needy, but we also really do, many of us want to feel cherished, protected, and adored by the men that we're with. And even though we don't need men to take care of us, there is a part of us that does want a man to want to take care of us. And so for those reasons, we find ourselves at cross purposes. So let's go back here and let's see. We've got some wonderful comments before I go into talking to everybody. So, one person says, for me, successful, smart women are more attractive, but I grew up with a strong female role model in my grandmother. Undereducated and underemployed women, I have less interest in. It's not a money thing, but being able to hold interesting, engaging conversations as well as as a grown adult, I don't want to support another capable adult. Well, that's wonderful. I mean, you're the kind of guy that we're really looking for, men who appreciate being with a woman who is smart, can hold her end of a conversation, a woman he's not embarrassed to take, to a corporate dinner, right? We want a man who wants an equal. So, so let's hear. Sonia says, my father encouraged me to be independent for the same reason. Yeah, a lot of dads do that as well, Sonia. They're protecting their daughters, and good fathers know how men can be. And so I know a lot of dads will also tell their daughters, don't rely on a man, because they know that a lot of men may, drop the ball. They may leave them, with children and all, and they want their daughters, to be protected against that. So let's talk about this. It is true that some men are going to be intimidated by successful women. But as one of the men who just shared, not all men are, and you only need one man. You just need one. So don't go out into the dating world with this chip on your shoulder or this identity that I'm a strong woman and I intimidate men, because you may intimidate some men. Those are not your guys. There are plenty of men out there who are confident, who are successful, and who will love to meet a wonderful, confident, educated, successful woman like them. So don't put that label on yourself. Don't put that monkey on your back and walk around the dating world with this idea that I'm so strong and independent, and woe is me. What can I do? Be proud of this. Be proud that you are a woman who lives in this day and age, that you can have a career, that you can support yourself, that you can be independent and a woman of means. That is something to be proud of. And I really want to encourage all of you, to really feel good about that and not take on these stories, these bullshit stories that you intimidate men. Yes, you're going to intimidate some men, but all of us are going to intimidate some men for different reasons. Maybe you're beautiful and men are intimidated by your beauty. Maybe you're super smart and men are just intimidated by your smarts. We all feel in some ways that we're too much, and we all feel in other ways that we're not enough. All of us walk around feeling like, oh my God, I'm such a unique snowflake and there's nobody out there for me. But I don't want you taking on these stories which aren't true, that you're going to intimidate men by your success. You're going to intimidate the wrong ones. But if they're insecure and they're intimidated by you, let them go find other women. Let them date the yoga bunny girl or the yoga instructor or the whatever, that doesn't have a great career and a big fat paycheck and all. Those are not your guy. But there are men, there are wonderful men. I know so many of them who are in relationships with smart, beautiful, educated women. And those guys are out there and they're looking for women like you. So, number one, do not adopt these ridiculous stories that, yes, some men are intimidated by your success, but not all men. Not men like my husband, not men like many of my clients have wound up with. It's up to you to find those guys. So, number two, let's look at the second thing here. One of the reasons why men are not interested in successful women is not just because you're smart and successful. It's because women who focus on their careers often lose their femininity, their feminine edge. And they have this idea that if they ask for anything from a man, they are going to look needy or desperate or insecure. And they've adopted this idea that they are strong, successful, independent women who want a man but don't need a man. That's what's going on. You're not just intimidating some men, you're actually turning off other men, not because they wouldn't be interested in you, but because you've lost touch with your femininity and you've lost the ability to take what I call the feminine lead. The feminine lead is one of the most empowering, beautiful, magical things a woman can do. And I am not talking about sitting back, leaning back, sitting on your hands and waiting for a man to chase you. If you are a smart, successful, strong, independent woman, no, you don't want to do that. That's ridiculous. But you do, and you can take what's called the feminine lead. What do I mean by that? I mean that you can initiate and lead, but in a feminine way. So what that looks like is most women, if they're in their masculine, they're going to be very directive. They're going to tell men what to do, or they're going to, just lead, but in a very masculine way. So if they're talking to a guy, they may say, well, let's get on a phone call, or why, let's jump on Zoom, or, let's go out for coffee, or let's get together. You want to learn how to invite a man to invite you to do those things. So what you would say is, I would love it if you would ask me out for coffee. If you asked me for my phone number, I bet I'd give it to you. So you want to make it a little bit of a challenge, a little provocative, a little playful. So a woman, whereas a man is very direct, let's go to dinner, or how would you, I'd love to take you to dinner. A woman would say, I bet if you invited me out to dinner, I'd say yes. So that's the feminine lead. With men, you never want to give them the impression that you're telling them what to do. You want to posit whatever you're saying in a way that will, that will get a man to invite you to do something. Does that make sense? So that's what you do. The other thing you've got to know how to do is to make a man feel wonderful when he's with you. What gets lost in all of this is that as women, we forget how to mirror a man's masculinity back to him. Men are, when they go on a date with you, they don't want to just feel like they're going out with a business colleague talking about business up in your head, intellectualizing. They'll sit there and they'll have a date with you and they'll find it interesting, but they'll be sitting there wondering when it's going to get sexy, when it's going to be fun, when is the playfulness going to happen? If I get her another drink, will she just loosen up and, maybe I'll get a chance to see, the little girl in her. And so they're sitting there waiting for that moment where that other side of you is going to shine through, where that masculine veneer, that person who's up in her head, asking questions, interviewing him, trying to find out if he's a good guy or if he's a player. They're sitting there waiting for all of that to fall away. and for you to start to be a woman. And they may enjoy the conversation. I've had clients who will say to me, gosh, we sat there for 3 hours and he seemed, it seemed like a great date. The conversation was flowing. It felt good and whatever. And then they never hear from the guy again. And they're left wondering, well, what was it? Why didn't he ask me out again? I mean, he sat there for, 3 hours. Why would he sit there for 3 hours and not ask me out? Well, because you didn't, people won't remember what you say, Maya Angelou. They'll remember how you made them feel. And if there's no emotional connection, that man is going to feel like he went out with a colleague. He's not going to feel like he had a date with a woman who was into him and turned on by him and impressed by him. And just like we want a guy to, when we walk in, we want a guy to say, wow, you look great. You look terrific. It's so nice to meet you. And we want to see him light up and, tell us that we're beautiful and tell us how smart we are. And we want to hear those compliments. A man needs to hear that too. Now, a lot of us have been told that, men don't, a masculine man, he's confident, he should know those things and he shouldn't need us to tell him. Are you kidding? They want that. They need it as much as we do. And so a man is waiting for you to sink into your heart and to open up that beauty, not to be emotional, but to create an emotional connection with him. Something many women are not aware of is that one of the things men are looking for are women who are in their hearts and who are safe to open up to. But if you're in the business world and you're wheeling and dealing, you're a realtor, or you're on Wall Street, or you're in finance, or whatever it is, and you're using, the intellectual side of you all the time, and you don't know how to let that go when you're with a man and just let that little girl come out and be fun and playful and spontaneous and sensual, a man isn't going to be able to connect with you. And if he doesn't feel, he may call you back because you're beautiful or he's sexually attracted to you, but he won't feel an emotional connection. So he may try to put the moves on you, and if you're in your head and you're in masculine mode, you may go for it. I used to do that. I used to think I can do anything a man can do. And if I want to be sexual, if I'm attracted to a man, why should I have to hold back? Why can't I go for it? If a guy can do it, who's to tell me I can't do that? Well, what I found was men were not connecting with me in the way I wanted them to. I wasn't making the kind of deep, lasting emotional connection I was looking for. So this is why so many of these men, are not turned on by you. It's not because your success intimidates them. It's because you're too masculine and you don't know how to let that go. And yeah, you can have a couple of drinks and you can be giddy and whatever, but a man can feel a woman who's truly in her heart. He can tell. And that's what's going to keep him coming back over and over and over again. So let's see here. Anybody want to weigh in? I'd love to hear from some of you. Judith says, oh my God, I am always direct. Duh. Who else is guilty of doing that? Of being masculine and kind of just, oh my God, he's not doing it. I guess I have to do it. Or, thinking, wow, this guy isn't initiating or he's not taking the lead. I guess, if I'm going to get him on the phone or if we're going to get to a date, I need to move this thing along. And then you get very masculine and, you take the masculine lead. I know that many, many, many of you are doing this. Judith and I cannot be the only two women out there who are guilty of that. There have got to be lots and lots and lots of you who do this. And I know because that was me. This was me. And I was craving connection. So here's one. Emma says, I am always direct as well. Yeah, here's the thing. It's not just about being direct or indirect, but it's about being playful. So if I say, hey, would you like to meet for coffee? That's not playful. But if I say, hey, I bet if you asked me out for coffee, I'd say yes. That's playful. And men love women who are playful and challenging. That's what's fun for them. That's what's really alluring. So if we are go-getters at work, how can we shift to more feminine energy on dates? This is a great question. So, well, first of all, you've got to start to ask yourself, like one of the things that I did, because I was one of my brother once said to me, we were walking along a beach in Mexico, and he said, oh my God, you are so intense. He said, I don't know how any man is going to deal with you. And that really stayed with me. When I was dating, one of the things I told myself was that I wanted to learn how to be more playful. That was something I wanted to learn how to do. And for years after I got out of my first marriage, I was so serious. I was doing all this interpersonal work. I was working with getting my master's degree in spiritual psychology. I worked with Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of The Four Agreements. And I had, I was doing a 12-step group for compulsive eating, all of these different things. And what happened was I really wanted to learn. I realized how intense and serious and, deep I was. And then I finally, I thought to myself, God, I'm just so sick of myself. I'm sick of how serious I am. I'm sick of this whole, like, doing all this work on myself. And I just decided I wanted to learn how to be more playful. This was just a choice I made. And I said, I am going to stop being serious on dates. I'm going to be fun. I wrote this silly little profile. It was super short and it was really funny. And, and I was like, I'm done taking life so seriously. And this was really a choice I made. And one of the, and I decided that I wasn't going to go on dates. And I saw playful women got way more attention from men. Men gravitated towards them. They, had fun with them. And I didn't think my way there. It was a choice I made. And then it's who I became. So on my first date with my now husband of almost 20 years, I said to my husband, he said, what are you looking for? And I looked at him, and I'd never said this to someone before. It's always, well, I want a serious relationship, and I want, commitment, and I want a guy who's X, Y, and Z, and whatever, all the things I didn't get from men in the past. And I just looked at him and I said, I have been working so hard on myself, and I'm done working hard. All I want to do is meet a great guy and have fun. He said that was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard a woman say, ever. And he went home that same night and took his profile down, and we have been together for the last 19 years. So how do you become more feminine? Well, women sign up to work with me. I have a course. It's a 3-month course, and it's a step-by-step roadmap for finding love. Nobody else that I know of, no other coach does what I do. I literally take women from having never had true love. I mean, some of them have been married, they've been in failed relationships, they've been trying to make this work for years and they haven't had success. And I literally get them from never having had a healthy, loving attachment in their lives to finding what I call a guardian of your soul. So in 6 weeks, in 12 weeks, I walk women through this process and it's life changing. Many of them find their true partners while they're in my course. Some of them, it takes a little bit longer, but my clients, over and over and over again, find the love that they have been looking for all their lives by doing this work with me. And part of that work is learning how to develop love and compassion for men, deepening your understanding of good men, who they are, how they think, what they're looking for in a partnership, and also showing you how to be lighter and more playful and fun. One of the things I urge my clients to do is to practice. One of the best ways to practice is through online dating because you can throw mud at the wall and, if it doesn't stick, no big deal. There's always more guys to practice on. I show them how to do this through texting. They wind up sending playful, fun, provocative texts that really get attention. And it allows them to build their confidence because they see how well the men respond when they send fun, playful, flirty texts, that aren't too sexual, but are definitely, little challenges and little ways of getting, of dropping the handkerchief, and getting a guy's attention. So they learn how not to be so boring. Oh, I read your profile and it looks like we have a lot in common. Message me if you think we're a match. That's not going to get a guy's attention. I see that you like to play pickleball. I like to play pickleball. Maybe we should go play pickleball together sometime. You can't really get a great guy's attention with a comment like that, right? You've got to separate yourself, and humor, lightness, playfulness, that's what's going to get a guy's attention. So you need, practicing flirting just over text is a great way to get started so that you can actually see what men respond to and what they don't respond to. If you want to learn more, you can all go to lisashield.com. There's a link there to watch my free 45-minute presentation. If you like what you hear, we can jump on a call. You'll get either me or a member of my team, and we will show you how we can get this solved. Many of you are wasting time. You're making up stories that you intimidate men, you're too successful, you're too old, you're too whatever, and you're making up stories that aren't true. All you need is one guy. You don't have to make all guys fall in love with you. You don't have to be the center of attention. You don't have to master how to be the best flirt. All you have to do is be able, when that one great guy sits down in front of you, to be able to get into your heart and bring him into his heart and make a lasting, loving, emotional connection with him. It's that simple. I can show you how to do it. So Sonia says, wouldn't you think that men could read being playful as being a flirt and not take you seriously? Sure, some guys can. Some guys are going to do that. But other men are going to see, how intelligent you are, how amazing you are. And Sonia, I'll tell you the truth. If you're confident and you're exuding confidence, a man can tell a confident, playful woman. And they can tell that you're not that they're not going to walk all over you or, manipulate you into going to bed with them. They may try, but you have to have good comebacks. You have to know if a guy is misinterpreting something you're saying. You have to know how to playfully put your foot down or put up a boundary and let him know, hey, cowboy, you need to slow down there. You're going to have to get to know me better before we go down that road. But you have to learn. If you've ever watched a comedian, a really great comedian, they'll throw a joke out there and then the audience may boo or they may not get a response. And then they have the comeback and they just recover and they keep going on. You need to be in control of that conversation. And if a guy, if you're going this way and the guy takes it into another direction, you have to redirect it back and take control and show this guy, who's in control. But if you're really a put together woman, that's okay. A man, no man is going to walk all over you. I myself, and I have many girlfriends who are audacious flirts. They have so much fun with men and, men flirt back. But that's all it is. It's playful. And they know that this woman is way too smart for them. And she's not going to go to bed or, get into bed with them just because she's fun and flirtatious and able to have a little playful banter with a guy. Lisa says, I was told by a man that he would like for me to ask him out. And I told him, that's not me. We had one date. Good for you, Lisa. Yeah. You could have also, instead of saying, if I can make a suggestion, instead of saying that's not me, you might have said, yeah, I bet you'd like that. I'm the kind of girl, woman who wants to be asked out by a man. So that's what I would have encouraged you to say, not to say that's not me, but to playfully turn it back and make it a challenge for him instead of shutting him down, right? So that would be the taking the feminine lead and turning that back to him. That would be my suggestion. All right, everybody. This has been another Lunch with Lisa. It is wonderful to see you all here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those to those of you who come back over and over again. I am here every Monday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time. I also do another Facebook Live called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. That is with my husband, Benjamin Shield, and me. This one is fascinating because there are few men out there like my husband who are as masculine and heartfelt as he is. My husband and I go very, very, very deep on issues that are facing men and women. And we really talk about some very, very deep subjects. So please tune in for that one. That is Sunday. And that runs 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And I also have a podcast, a weekly podcast with 2 episodes. And that is called Dating Without Drama. I would love it if you would go and listen to the podcast. If you like it, please rate it and review it. That's always helpful. It helps us grow our audience. And if you have any ideas for topics, please send them to dwdpod@lisashield.com. Our best suggestions come from you. And that's DWD, Dating Without Drama, pod@lisashield.com. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. This has been Lunch with Lisa. I'm Lisa Shield. Please come back and see me again next week. Bye-bye.